I know that just as it's requiring a change for teachers, it's really requiring a change for leaders also, right?
Absolutely.
We can't transmit what we don't have. And so it brings us to the next point so nicely, right? Is that there are non-negotiables in instruction. There are things that make a lesson impactful, engaging, that we're assessing to make sure we're meeting the needs of all students. So talk to me a little bit about what do you see as the non-negotiables in our current environment for instruction that you're communicating with your staff?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're asking teachers to kind of to really take a hard look at, okay, you've got your curriculum map, you've got kind of your semester plan, but what do they need to know to be successful next year? What are the nuts and bolts of your course that they need to take with them so that they can be successful after this situation? For my programs that are dual credit or dual enrollment with our community college, they're looking at those college syllabuses and saying, okay, for the kids to get the dual credit, they need to meet these, big chunks. And so how do we deliver that? How do we get them, what they need right now in a way that isn't overwhelming and that they can actually do it online? So that's where we started with, is just looking at, okay, kind of sort of beginning with that end in mind of, okay, what are they going to need for next year, for the next course? And then how do we build that for their future success?
And so you're prioritizing the content. So
yes,
you know right up front, this is what I'm getting rid of, and this is what I still need to teach this year. That's awesome. And Adam, I know in your book you have, obviously an abundance of ways that leaders are leading. Talk to me a little bit about what you see as the non-negotiables besides prioritizing content.
So I think as we look at our opportunity for remote learning, I think one of the pieces that we have to recognize is that the opportunity to give immediate feedback for students has to look different. And so when we think about our non-negotiables in instruction, I think one of the questions we need to pose to our teachers is, how are we providing feedback to students in this remote environment? I pull out Madeline Hunter's lesson design, and it's the foundation of all we do. Are we providing that guided and independent practice? And so in your instructions, even if you're sending home, a couple of sheets of math that students need to be able to do, have you worked through an example where you've given them step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is this, and you've put in some question prompts along the way so that you're setting them up for success, so that even in a remote environment, we're giving some specific direct instruction the best we can. Because I think one of the pieces we have to realize is that not all of our students are fortunate or blessed to have 2 parents like our kids are who are educators, right? We understand how teaching and learning needs to look, but we have a lot of families who want their kids to do the best they can, and they may not know those teaching practices, right? And so we have to figure out, how can we bring the instruction down to a level that is going to support parents? And a lot of that is step-by-step modeling and giving that support practices. And if you are fortunate enough to have an opportunity to do some things in a Wi-Fi enabled environment, then what are those additional resources, right? So one of the pieces that I love to be able to do is to take a video that's been created and put it into Edpuzzle, for example, and then you can stop that video 90 seconds in and you can ask a question, right? And you can get feedback along the way. So when we have that capability, we want to maximize it. But again, we have to go back to that equity issue and make sure that all of our students can access the information that's necessary. And so for me, that ability to have direct instruction and immediate feedback is critical and non-negotiables for instruction.
I saw a teacher the other day who had posted a lesson for my children, and the kids had whiteboards that they were working math problems out on. And they were holding them up like this, and they were showing their work, and they were explaining the why of what they were doing. And she was like, pull it in closer. Let me see it closer. How many of you have that? And they were having this robust dialogue with nothing more than a whiteboard. And these were high school kids that were working through algebra problems. And why did you put that there? And it was a really robust conversation with very little technology, very little resources that were needed, but it was engaging and all students were involved. It was a great lesson.
That's fantastic. And I think in this non-negotiable for instruction, and I know Tiffany's school is doing this as well, is that there's office hours that students can access their teachers, right? And I think when we can, you know, to even go above office hours and say, okay, boys and girls, from, you know, 10 to 11, I'm going to host a Zoom video, or I'm going to host a conference call, or if you want me to call you, email me and let me know that I need to call you. Or if I'm, you know, if I'm working with a family and I'm going to say every Tuesday at 9 o'clock, I'm going to do a 30-minute check-in and see how things are going, right? Like, take advantage of this time that we say we never have now. And once we put the instruction out, now how do I go out and support that for that immediate feedback piece?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we've talked about prioritizing content, giving that immediate feedback. I love the ways that we can brainstorm, you know, office hours, Zoom videos. I see teachers doing the most creative things to communicate and engage with their students. I mean, my kid's school is definitely doing